I have scouted many prospects prior to them entering the NBA, and I've gotten my fair share of correct evaluations. I was correct to have a top 4 grade on Tyrese Maxey in 2020. I was correct to have a top 5 grade on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in 2018. However, I've been incorrect on just as many, if not more, prospect evaluations. I thought Dennis Smith Jr. was an MVP caliber prospect, while also thinking that Tyrese Haliburton had the ceiling of a role player in 2020 when he was entering the draft. The draft is a very hit or miss evaluation process, but with that being said, there are few prospects I've ever been as confident in when evaluating them than G League Ignite point guard Scoot Henderson. This is the best traditional size point guard prospect I've ever evaluated, and one of the 5 best prospects I've ever evaluated since I started writing prospect evaluations in 2016. He's a special prospect in just about every sense of the idea, from a physical standpoint, skill set standpoint, feel for the game standpoint, and mindset standpoint. There are few prospects I've been as confident in becoming stars than Scoot. He's that good. I've already talked about Scoot Henderson's physical gifts. 6'2", 195 pounds of pure muscle with a 6'8" wingspan. His athleticism is like something I've never seen in a guard at his height. I've seen athletic guards around his height before, Dennis Smith Jr., Trayvon Duval, and Jalen Hands, just to name a few. But Scoot is different. He jumps as high as those guys do, but he's way more complete as an overall athlete. He has incredible body control and flexibility. He has incredible strength for a prospect his age. He has incredible speed and quickness with and without the basketball in his hands. His ability to stop on a dime and then get to top speed instantly is one of one. He doesn't have a flaw as an athlete, and he's capable of doing things effectively that really you would only expect wings and forwards to do, and he's proven that his athleticism isn't just about beating up on lower levels of competition. Sure, the G League isn't the NBA, but Scoot has faced plenty of NBA caliber athletes in the G League and has looked really good. On top of that, he's one of the few athletes that finish at the basket against Victor Wembanyama with the level of success that he has. Victor definitely bothered his shots, but Scoot got his as well in that matchup. These are 2 layers of competition that Scoot has faced since he turned 17 years old. And the success that he's had against this competition is why I'm so confident he's going to translate to the NBA rather quickly. On top of having generational athleticism that just can't be taught, Scoot also has incredible basketball skills mixed with a feel for the game that you can't teach. His handle is incredible, which raises his ceiling in all aspects of playmaking. His touch around the basket is really good. He's not just a power finisher, he has really good control and touch, so he can just finish in every way possible. His passing skills, as far as vision, accuracy, and creativity, are improving at an encouraging rate to the point where I believe that he has primary creation upside. He's a great mid-range shooter and is clearly improving as a 3-point shooter. This is what makes Scoot Henderson such a complete offensive guard prospect. He's good in just about every area you look for in a guard that you want to build around, especially at the point guard position, and the areas that he needs to work on are areas that are improving, and you can see that he's putting a lot of work to improve those, and the results are very encouraging as well. And like I mentioned earlier, on top of being such a complete offensive guard prospect from a skill perspective, his feel for the game is something that can't be taught. You can't teach the way he counters the looks opposing defenses throw at him. You can't teach the understanding of scoring gravity that he has. You can't teach his creativity as a playmaker. These are things that most players either have or don't have, and Scoot has those things, and it's not only impressive for his age, it's impressive that he has these things in general, because there are players in the NBA that are really good that don't have what Scoot has at all, and that really speaks to just how special of a prospect he is. Scoot is also a player that has all the intangibles to be a franchise player. From all accounts, he's a great leader, especially for his age, and what he shows on the court does back up this claim. He wants to get others involved, he's a great communicator, but he also knows when he needs to take over during games as well. He carries himself with the confidence of being the best player on the floor, and most of the time he is the best player on the floor. I'm encouraged by his commitment to improving on his weaknesses as well, like I mentioned earlier, which he doesn't have many of, mind you, but he still works to improve on them. He's improved as a shooter. His defense still isn't perfect, and I still think that's the biggest sort of talking point when you look at his flaws, but he's getting better at it. He's shown legit improvement from last season to this season at a young age. That's what you want to see, obviously, but it is also encouraging when you actually see it. If you want to read more about Scoot Henderson, I would highly recommend checking out Marin Fader of The Ringer's piece about him. It's one of my favorite written pieces I've read this year, regardless of if it's about basketball or not. It's just that well written of a piece. It's really going into detail about what Scoot Henderson is like as a basketball player, but also as a person, and it's written by one of my favorite basketball writers ever, so I'll link that piece in the description below if you want to check that out, and I would highly recommend checking it out, not only if you like Scoot Henderson, but if you like basketball and like written pieces in general. It's definitely worth checking out because it's incredible. Simply put, Scoot Henderson is different. He has everything you look for in a franchise player: the athleticism, the skills, the feel for the game, and the intangibles. And he's proven he's capable of being that player since he was 17 years old, dropping near 30-point triple-doubles against G League competition that have pro experience and are much older than him. Everything about his tape, the way he talks in interviews, the way his teammates and coaches talk about him, and what you see in articles from him is something that you wouldn't expect to see in a player this young unless they were going to be a future franchise player. And it's why I think you throw fit out the window when he's on the board. If you have the second overall pick, you draft him. You don't think twice about it because this is a rare opportunity. This is not something that will likely ever happen for your team if you get the second overall pick again, because there will likely not be a draft like this again, where you have a chance to get a transcendent prospect like Scoot Henderson with the second overall pick. Guys like Scoot don't fall past the first overall pick in most years, because Scoot would be the first overall pick in most years. He would have been the number 1 overall pick if he was in the 2022 draft. And I say this as someone who thinks the world of Paolo Banchero, but that's how good Scoot is. He's so good that he would have been the first overall pick in the draft he wasn't even eligible for. And he would be the consensus top guy in this class if he wasn't in the same class as Victor Wembanyama, who might be the best prospect this sport has ever seen. But even then, while I don't think Scoot is better than Victor, I do think Scoot deserves to be talked about like he's a franchise-changing level prospect because he is one, even if he isn't quite Victor good. Scoot is special, and any team that gets him shouldn't view him as just a consolation prize, because he's more than a consolation prize. He has a chance to change a franchise.